Every single person in this room has been through something: pain, loss, rejection, betrayal, moments that shook you, broke you, changed you. But let me tell you something that most people never hear enough. You survived it. You're still standing. And that means something. See, life doesn't break you to destroy you. It breaks you open so you can become more. The truth is, some of our greatest growth doesn't come from easy victories. It comes from the battles we didn't think we'd win, but somehow we did. Tonight, I'm not here to motivate you with surface level positivity. I'm here to show you how to turn your hardest moments into your greatest strength, to help you understand that what you went through isn't your punishment, it's your platform. If you'll stay with me for the next few minutes, I promise you, you will walk out of here not only stronger, but transformed. Because growth isn't just something that happens, it's something you choose. And it begins right now. You know, people think that pain is something to run from, that it's a sign something's gone wrong. But here's the truth most never realize. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is feedback. It's a signal. It's a teacher. And if you listen, really listen, it can be your greatest guide. The problem is most people don't listen. They numb it. They deny it. They push it down, pretend it's not there, or worse, they let it define them. But pain is not meant to be a prison. It's a portal, a passageway to a higher version of you, the part of you that you haven't met yet, the one who's stronger, wiser, more capable. It's on the other side of what you're resisting right now. Every adversity in your life, every heartbreak, every betrayal, every time you felt like it was over, those weren't the end. They were invitations to evolve. Think about it. Think about a time in your life when you were brought to your knees. Maybe it was a relationship that shattered, a job you lost, someone you loved walked away. Maybe you lost yourself. In that moment, it felt like the world was ending, didn't it? But here's the thing. You're still here, and you're not just here by accident. You made it through something that was designed to bury you. That means you didn't just survive, you grew. But you've got to stop asking, why did this happen to me? That question will trap you in victimhood. Start asking, what did this come to teach me? When you make that shift, boom, everything starts to change. Because now, you're not powerless. Now you're in the driver's seat. You're extracting the lesson. You're turning pain into power. I've seen it 1,000 times. The person who was abused, who becomes the one who helps others heal. The one who lost everything and then built a life of deep purpose because they stopped chasing the shallow stuff. The individual who got told they'd never amount to anything and used that fire to prove not just the world wrong, but to prove to themselves what was always inside them. Pain introduced them to who they really are. And it can do the same for you. But only if you stop resisting it. Only if you lean in and say, all right, I don't like this. I didn't ask for this. But I'm going to find a way to grow through it. You're not weak because you're hurting. You're human. But you are strong the moment you choose not to stay there. The moment you decide, this will not break me, it will build me. You weren't meant to live your whole life avoiding storms. You were built to learn how to dance in the rain because storms don't last. But the person you become by walking through them, that person stays. That person carries wisdom. That person has depth. That person becomes unshakable. So stop cursing your struggle. Start using it. Dig into it. Let it carve out the version of you that's been buried under comfort, distraction, and fear. Let it burn away the parts of you that were never truly you. Let it wake you up to your power because pain isn't here to punish you. It's here to prepare you. And when you start seeing pain that way, you don't just heal. You elevate. There comes a moment in life when you've got to make a decision. Either let go or be dragged. And I don't mean that lightly. I'm talking about the emotional baggage we carry often for years, sometimes even decades, that ends up weighing more than we realize. See, what we hold on to eventually holds on to us. Whether it's resentment, guilt, shame, old beliefs, or some version of ourselves that we've outgrown but refuse to release, it all becomes emotional clutter. And you can't move forward if your hands are full of the past. We all do it. We hold on to relationships that no longer serve us, not because they're healthy, but because they're familiar. We cling to identities that once protected us, like, I'm not enough, or I'm just not the kind of person who succeeds, because they give us an excuse to stay small. We replay moments of failure or betrayal like a broken record, hoping that somehow it'll make sense if we just keep rewinding it, but it never does. And while we're doing all that, life is passing us by left. Let me tell you something straight. Your past is not your home. It's your history, not your destiny. But if you live there too long, you'll start believing that's where you belong. And that is a lie. You weren't created to be stuck. You weren't built to carry yesterday into tomorrow. You were made to evolve, to shed, to rise. But letting go isn't passive. It's not just about moving on and pretending nothing happened. It's active. It's a decision to stop rehearsing the pain and start rewriting the pattern. It's looking that pain in the face and saying, you may have shaped me, but you don't get to own me. Some of you are dragging stories from your childhood, stories that told you you're not smart enough, lovable enough, worthy enough. Some of you are dragging betrayals, things people did or didn't do, and you're still trying to make sense of it. But let me ask you, how many more years are you going to bleed for a wound that someone else gave you? When do you say enough? Because here's what happens when you let go. Space opens up. Space for clarity, for truth, for your real self to show up. You stop fighting the past and start dancing with the present. You stop clinging to survival and start stepping into your significance. And yes, it's hard, it's emotional. Letting go can feel like a death because it is. It's the death of who you used to be. But that's what growth demands. Nature doesn't apologize for letting go of the old to make room for the new. Trees don't cling to dead leaves, and neither should you. I've worked with people who carried anger towards someone for 20, 30, even 40 years. And when they finally released it, not for that other person, but for themselves, they felt free for the first time in their lives. That's what letting go gives you: freedom, emotional freedom, mental freedom, the kind of peace you can't buy, because it only comes through doing the inner work. This moment right now could be the beginning of your release, but you've got to be willing to loosen your grip. Whatever you're holding on to, if it's costing you your joy, your peace, your future, it's too expensive, and you don't have to carry it anymore. Because you weren't designed to drag your past, you were born to rise beyond it. You know what most people really want? Comfort. They won't always say it out loud, but deep down, that's what they chase. The predictable, the safe, the familiar. They build lives around avoiding risk, steering clear of pain, and staying in control. And I get it. We all want to feel secure. But the truth is, nothing extraordinary ever comes from staying comfortable. If comfort is your goal, then growth is off the table. Because growth doesn't happen when everything's easy. Growth shows up in the resistance. Think about your muscles. You don't build strength by sitting on the couch. You grow by showing up when it's hard, when it burns, when your body says stop and your mind says just one more. That's how you level up physically, and it's the same emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that's what you need to focus on being bold. If you only do what's easy, your life will be hard. But if you're willing to do what's hard, your life gets easier, fuller, more meaningful. Most people want the results without the reps. They want the transformation without the tension. They want to be bold, but they don't want to risk being uncomfortable. That's not how it works. You don't get to evolve while staying the same. You don't become more by doing less. Growth demands that you leave the safe zone and step into the unknown. It demands you face the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding, the fears, the doubts, the insecurities. It all has to come up, not to break you, but to free you. Comfort whispers lies like you're fine right where you are. Growth tells the truth. You were made for more. But it's not convenient. Growth asks you to take risks, to try and maybe fail, to put yourself out there, even when there's no guarantee. It asks you to look foolish sometimes, to be vulnerable, to trust the process, to stay in the fire long enough to be forged into someone new. I've seen people change their lives by making one decision: to stop hiding and start showing character, to stop hiding and start showing up. And I'm not talking about big dramatic moments. I'm talking about the small, quiet choices made every single day. Getting up early to work on yourself, having the hard conversation, saying no to what's easy so you can say yes to what's right. That's where the real shift happens. But here's the thing. Growth isn't linear. It's messy. Doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like chaos, like you're breaking down. But that breakdown, that's just the old version of you coming undone to make room for the new. That confusion, that uncertainty, that's the soil where transformation takes root. So if you feel like things are falling apart, maybe they're actually falling into place. If you're waiting for the perfect time, the right mood, or total confidence before you make your next move, stop. That day may never come. Growth doesn't wait for permission. It responds to intention. You've got to decide who you want to become and then live in alignment with that decision, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. So the next time you're faced with a choice between what's easy and what's growth, I want you to pause and remember this. Comfort is the enemy of progress. And your destiny doesn't live in what's familiar. It lives in what you're willing to reach for. Because everything you're capable of becoming is just beyond what you're comfortable being. One of the most powerful tools we have in life is the ability to rewrite the meaning of our experiences. Think about it for a moment. What happens in your life isn't nearly as important as how you interpret it. The meaning you give to something defines how it affects you. And this is where most people get stuck. They allow events to define them, to dictate who they are and what they're capable of. They let the story they've been told or the story they tell themselves keep them trapped. But here's the truth. You are the author of your story. Not the circumstances, not the people who doubted you, not the things you've been through. You decide what it all means. We've all been through stuff. We've all faced obstacles, pain, rejection, loss. But the difference between those who stay stuck and those who move forward, who thrive, is how they choose to define those experiences. You have two options. You can let the past control your future, or you can change the meaning of what you've been through and use it as fuel for your next level. So what does this mean in practice? It means that when you face a challenge, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of focusing on the unfairness of the situation, shift your perspective and focus on what you're learning from it. This shift might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's the key to moving forward. You see, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Suffering comes from the meaning we give to the pain. It's not the event that keeps you stuck, it's your interpretation of it. I've seen people face unimaginable circumstances and come out of it stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled. I've seen people who've been through hell and back, and yet they decided to tell a new story. The person who was told they would never succeed and now leads a thriving business. The person who experienced deep loss but transformed that grief into purpose. The person who was told they were too much and instead became their truest, most powerful self. Every one of them made the choice to take their pain, their struggle, and rewrite the meaning. Let me tell you this. Your past does not have to define you. It can refine you. Everything you've been through, every mistake, every setback, every heartache can be reframed. It doesn't matter if you've failed 100 times. What matters is whether you decide that failure is the end of the road or just a lesson you needed to learn in order to rise higher. This is what separates those who remain stuck from those who move forward in life, the ability to reframe the past and use it to fuel a new future. If you keep telling yourself the same old story, you'll stay the same. But if you tell yourself a new story, one where you're not a victim, but a victor, one where you're not defined by what happened to you, but by how you responded, you unlock your true potential. And it's in that moment that you begin to step into the life you were always meant to live. This is not just a mindset shift, it's a life-altering decision. You get to decide what meaning you attach to your past. You can choose to hold on to the old narrative of defeat and limitations, or you can choose to step into a new narrative of strength, wisdom, and growth. The power is in your hands. So take a moment to think about the story you've been telling yourself. Is it one of limitation or one of empowerment? Is it one of I can't or is it one of I will? Because the moment you rewrite the meaning of your past, you unlock a future that's far bigger and brighter than anything you could have imagined. It's time to take back the pen and write the next chapter of your life.